Good evening. It's great to see some familiar faces tonight. Thanks for joining us. This is our final men's basketball virtual pregame of the season, but we are also planning some additional events to celebrate postseason play that Kimberly is going to share at the end of our program tonight. So we hope you will continue to support our men's and women's teams. I know we're really looking forward to it. We have a fun program planned for you this hour and a very special guest that's here with us to answer your questions. Please feel free to use the chat to interact with guests or share your questions at any point throughout the program. This is a fun, sort of intimate chance for you to interact with these awesome players and former players, and so we hope you take advantage of that. A little bit more about tonight's event. This pregame is a partnership between the CU Boulder Alumni Association, the Alumni C Club, and CU Athletics. We've been hosting these pre-games throughout the season to support our men's and women's basketball programs. And we've been joined by some incredible guest speakers. And we hope that you all who have come back to join us tonight have really enjoyed the shows that we've been putting on. My name's Brennan Jones. I'm the Associate Director of Events at the Alumni Association. I'm joined by my colleague Pamela Dados and Kimberly Orr, both of whom you'll hear from tonight throughout the program. And Pam and Kimberly have really collaborated closely this basketball season to plan these events and organize our letter winner guests. So thanks to you both. You've both done an incredible job. And we're lucky to have this partnership, especially with the C Club. So I'm really excited to turn things over to Kimberly tonight. Kimberly is the Executive Director of the Alumni C Club. She's an alumna of the Leeds School of Business and earned her degree in marketing. She's been an incredible partner to the Alumni Association, partnering with us on these events, and we are so thankful for that partnership. And thanks, Kimberly, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brennan. We have some kind of an echo going here. I want to say first, good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. It is a very special night for men's basketball. It is senior night here at the CU Event Center, and we have 7 seniors who are taking the court for the final time in Boulder. So I sit here and I wonder in my heart how they're feeling, what the excitement level's like, and when the actual nostalgia hits in, what it's like to be leaving Boulder as a senior. We're not leaving tonight because we've got the Pac-12 men's basketball tournament, and we already know we're going to the dance. So very exciting time for men's basketball. It's an exciting time for all of us in athletics. I would like to welcome my colleague, Scott McMichael, who is the Assistant Athletic Director and one of our chief fundraisers from the Buff Club. Scott, if you can give a wave. I know some of you on this call know him, and he is just a joy to work with each and every day. And on behalf of all of us, we want to welcome Mr. Bo Mitchell. Bo is our special guest tonight. He is a multi-letterman at CU in both baseball and basketball. He lettered in baseball in 1969 and 1972, and in men's basketball in 69, 70, and 71. He was acknowledged in 2019 as one of our living legends, a letter winners program that I had the distinct privilege of handing that award to him on a beautiful September night in 2019, back when I could hand things to people. So Bo, first and foremost, welcome. And I know that your given name is not Bo, and I wonder if there might be a story, Mr. Dudley Mitchell.
Oh, well, thank you for having me tonight, and hi, Jim, and hi, Scott, and those of you I know, hi, and those of you I don't know, hello also. My father, Dale Mitchell, was a tremendous baseball player with the Cleveland Indians from 1946 to 1956, and a famous broadcaster for the Indians during that period was named Jimmy Dudley. And for some reason, to honor his friend, rather than name me Jimmy, which would have been fine, my dad named me Dudley. So every fall, I had to look forward to standing up the first day of school and saying my name, which I hated. Nickname becomes Dud. But when I was playing baseball in the summertime for the Boulder Collegians after my freshman year at CU, so this was 68, a kid named I can't think of his name, Steve. I forgot it at the moment, but when we met at a mixer night before the first game at Scott Carpenter Park, he said, that's the worst name I've ever heard in my life. Is that really your name? And I said, I agree. It's awful. He said, don't sweat it. Tomorrow night when you come up to bat, I'll have a new name for you. So the next night they introduced me batting for Boulder, number 5, Bo Mitchell. First time I ever heard it. And a couple other players on the team, Bobby Anderson, Lloyd Hutchinson, Rick Ogle, they brought the name back to CU. Everybody thought I renamed myself, but I didn't. But I was happy to be called Bo and not Dudley.
And obviously, Bo, it stuck because that's what we call you every day when we're around here at CU. So Bo was a highly regarded athlete coming out of both high school in Oklahoma in basketball and baseball. And while he was at CU, he played with Cliff Mealy. He overlapped with one of our former guests, CU Basketball Hall of Famer Chuck Williams. And he's had a pretty cool CU athletics journey. I was looking at some things that, a little bit of blast from the past, Bo, and I was reading about the 50th anniversary of the 1969 NCAA tournament team. Now, I know you guys were in the Big 8 tourney down in Manhattan, Kansas, Kansas, where our Hall of Famer Scotty Mack came from. But what do you remember about that time? What do you remember, maybe some favorite teammate memories from your teammates there, either while at CU? Let's talk about basketball first. Let's talk about your basketball memories at CU.
Well, first of all, Chuck Williams was a senior when I was a freshman. And after about a week of practice, I called my father and said, Dad, don't worry about me ever getting a shot off because I can't even get open enough to catch a pass because I had Chuck guarding me every day, and he was so great. I didn't know he was going to be an NBA star, ABA star, but he was a great guy, a great player. It's interesting. Freshmen were not eligible at that time. Not that we could have played. I certainly couldn't have played because of Pat Frink and Gordy Tope and Chuck Williams, but our sophomore year, Sox Walseth, our coach, and Charlie Gardner, our assistant coach, had done an incredible job recruiting Cliff Mealy. In fact, sorry, Scott, but I think Kansas was in on Mealy forever. Mealy got an injury. They kind of sent him to a junior college, Northeastern, but Sox and Charlie stayed with Mealy and recruited him all that time. They kind of loved him into the CU campus, which was great for us because he was such a phenomenal player. But so Mealy came in from junior college as a sophomore. We had a 7'2" postman named Ron Smith from Pueblo Centennial. We had a 6'7" forward named Tim Wedgeworth from Manual. Myself, 6'3" guard. Terry Jameson was another sophomore from Regis. As Sox did not like starting sophomores, but since there were so many of us that were pretty good, especially Mealy, he finally just said, okay, we're going to start all these guys. So Mike Coleman was a senior, Gordy was a junior, Gordy Tope. And the season started, we were all kind of unknowns, and we went to Texas Tech and the University of Texas, won 2 games. I think we beat Air Force. Anyway, we got off to such a great start that all of a sudden Balch Fieldhouse was packed and you couldn't get a ticket, and we were on our way. And I just remember being probably the worst player in the starting lineup, but I did start every game with Cliff, and he was so good you just kind of sometimes stand around and watch him, which didn't exactly accrue to my benefit with the coach. He'd ask me to go ahead and play a little bit. In fact, you want to hear a funny story? When Mealy, as seniors, broke the Fieldhouse scoring record, the defense was obviously dropping off on him, so I was wide open. So I fired up about 3 shots from 25 feet, and the crowd was chanting, Mealy, Mealy. Well, I hit 2 of the 3, but Sox called a timeout, pulled me over the bench and said, you think that's your name they're chanting? And I said, Coach, I'm wide open. He said, yeah, well, sit down here next to me and watch the rest of the game. So fortunately, I came out and immediately shot and broke the field house record. But I have great memories. In regards to that trip to Manhattan, though, we won the Big 8 conference. We beat Kansas, and it was an incredible night because Kansas State beat Kansas in Lawrence, and we beat Missouri in Boulder, which gave us the championship. They'd already flipped the coin. We lost, and we thought we were heading for Lawrence Monday night for a playoff game. But as it turned out, Kansas State helped us. They beat Kansas, and we wanted to go play Duke or UCLA, and we wanted to go to Pauley Pavilion. But we get word when we made the tournament. In those days, if you won the Big 8 conference, you went straight into the round of 16. And rather than go to Pauley Pavilion, they told us we were going to Manhattan, Kansas. And our team really did kind of sink about, I'd say, 10 points. Then they told us we were playing CSU. We're like, what? So I can remember clearly shooting at least 2 air balls. I think I hit 5 out of 15 from the field. I was not very good. And CSU was much better than anybody thought. And they beat us by, I think, 6 or 8 points. And it was quite a disappointment for everybody in Boulder.
That must have been very disappointing. I mean, Beverly Hills, palm trees, movie stars, and Kansas.
You got
I
it.
don't understand why everybody's attitude sunk a bit. Just kidding.
Yeah. We
Well,
just come from there. I'm thinking we've been to Manhattan, Kansas. We don't want to go again, but CSU was great. They had Shegog and the Kerr brothers and the kid named Davis, and they were much better than people thought. And Sox kept saying, "What are y'all doing out there?" I said, "Coach, these guys are very good." But it was a disappointing loss.
Well, I'm sure it was. Scott, would you like to add any color to any of those stories or any of those folks that that are beloved to our CU basketball program?
I would not have missed the Dudley Bo Mitchell show tonight. He's got a lot of great stories, great guy. The one thing Bo and I definitely have in common, we're not real fond of going to Manhattan, Kansas. So nothing good ever comes out of there, but especially good old Ahern Fieldhouse. Back some memories, but no, I just first of all want to do a shout out to Brennan, Pam, and Kimberly for putting these events on. This has been great. I've had a lot of positive feedback from folks on, it's kind of neat bringing back stories, and we teach our current players, a lot about the history of CU, and talking to guys like Bo and Chuck Williams and Charlie Gardner. We always kind of emphasize, CU basketball was successful and did exist before you current players put on Boulder campus. So always kind of good to put things in perspective that way. But recognize a lot of faces here, and hello to Jim, and just a little shout out to Bo and Jim. Sox Walseth, who obviously names on the court, a few years back after when I first came on board, Sox had just recently passed away, and I got together with the family and some others, and I thought it'd be neat if we would endow a scholarship for both the men's and women's basketball program here at CU. And because of Jim and Bo and several others' help, we now have 2 permanent endowment in Sox's name, one for the women's basketball program and one for the men's. And that to me has been really special. It not only, recognized and gave Sox a permanence with CU basketball, but it also created relationships with a lot of these former players, assistant coaches, and we had a lot of other donors that felt very special about this. So that to me was, a real neat moment with my tenure here at CU, and just hearing all the stories, and glad Bo was able to join us because you've had a great career, an interesting life, great stories. Most of them could be shared in mixed company tonight, but I think, they're all great. And I just want to thank everybody on this Zoom for what you've done, your contributions, season tickets, Excellence Fund members. Let us know how we can help you, because you've definitely helped us. But I'll kind of shut up and turn it back over. But, these are great opportunities for us to engage and, keep that CU tradition moving forward. So appreciate the time. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Scott. You mentioned Charlie Gardner, Bo. Charlie has also been a guest on one of our pregame events, and he was a lot of fun to listen to some of his stories and, what it's like for that guy from Chicago to come out here and play for CU. And he's currently back in Chicago now, but Scott and I both had a good time getting to know him, and he was a fabulous guest as well. My favorite memory of Sox is not an in-person memory, but Coach Walseth, I think most everyone knows that we do a lot of different reunions throughout the university, be they school and college reunions. In athletics, we have team reunions. And one of the second to the last in-person event that I was privileged to work on was the men's basketball reunion last year, 2020, in honor of Sox Walseth. So the men's basketball program, every year they honor a coach, and we invite the players back to and spend some time together in person. And because Sox was a coach both for the men's and women's team, and we were very fortunate to have some of his family members in attendance, that was a really, really special night. I wonder if you would like to comment on that, Bo, and talk about what it was like to see some of your former teammates and just get to know some of the other wonderful people, men and women, who played for Sox.
It was fun, and I can remember when I played at CU, Sox's children were just these little tykes, and they probably thought we were all crazy, but they were very sweet kids. Sox's wife, Ellie, was just an angel, and that night, I should mention this, but seeing Charlie Gardner was a blessing. He's responsible for me going to Colorado, because I had committed to Oklahoma. I told John McLeod I'm coming. He said, if you're serious, I'm on the next flight to Denver to sign you. And I said, come on. And on the way to the airport, because of Charlie and his recruiting skills, my dad and I changed our mind, and McLeod became a good friend later as we played against him and stuff. So seeing Charlie was great. Bob Bowers, that whole bunch. Chuck Williams was there. That was a wonderful event you all provided for us. So thank you, as Scott said, to all of you that do these things for us. And then some of the guys up sharing memories was great. And I was thinking about that class that just left before I got there that recruited all of us, were Bowers and Carl Tate, Lynn Baker, who was one of the great athletes in the history of sports, but for sure CU. I mean, he looked like a movie star. He jumped like a gazelle. And I'm forgetting somebody off of that team, Tate, Bowers, Frink and Williams. And anyway, it was just great. I mean, it's so funny how sports work. I mean, how can I remember 50 plus, how many years ago was it? Yeah, that I shot air balls in the NC2A regional tournament. I mean, come on. I don't know why basketball, baseball, these numbers just stay stuck with you. But seeing everybody again was good, to hear how everybody's life's progressed and the kids we've raised and the Walseth family all growing up. And it was all just a blessing to be there that night.
I agree. It was really, really a special event. So before we shift over to our trivia, where everyone has the ability to win some prizes, not virtual prizes, real prizes, I have one more question for you. Bo, we've talked about your time at CU and how you got there and some of your teammates and your memories. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, right before I got to CU, a guy named Don Reverts in the Young Life Club explained what the Gospel of John means, and I'd never heard it. I've been to church my whole life, but that's when I prayed to receive Christ and became a Christian. I got to see you, and Dan Stavely was an assistant football coach, and Coach Stave became my spiritual dad. I'm not saying I was even close to perfect by any means, but that started my walk with Christ, which continued when I met my wife. We got married. So I went in, I played 2 years of professional baseball. I really was a baseball player. Basketball was just kind of a hobby, I guess, or something, but basketball scholarships were better than baseball scholarships. So when Sox and Chief Prinock came to our house, they explained to us, you should take a basketball scholarship, not a baseball scholarship. But I was drafted by Boston out of high school, and then I signed with St. Louis out of college. After 2 years of pro baseball, I was far enough along in my walk with Christ to know that I stunk. I was great in high school, I was good in college, and I was awful as a pro. So I quit. I was married, we had a child. I went into real estate, but primarily in those days, my wife Gary and I really started focusing on ministry. We started a few churches in Denver. I was the worst student, I think, in CU history. And then I was pretty close to being the worst student in Denver seminary history, but I did get a master's degree in Christian leadership. And somewhere along the way, one of the assistant general managers for the Nuggets heard me preach and asked me 3 times if I'd be their chaplain. So for close to 20 years, I was the volunteer chaplain for the Denver Nuggets, um, which was a better basketball career than I ever thought I'd have in the NBA. And I was head chaplain. And for the last 10 years, I've worked as a consultant with the Colorado Rockies. And probably 9 years ago, they asked me if I would assume the duties of chaplain for the Rockies. So I've been the chaplain for that team for 9 years. In basketball, both the visiting team and the home team meet together 1 hour before tip off. And it was quite interesting because if the visiting team was like the Spurs with David Robinson, almost the whole team would come to chapel. With the Nuggets, it depended on who the leaders were of the team, who came to chapel, but it's a voluntary thing. And I would just, keep it pretty simple, teach New Testament truths about Jesus Christ. And that's kind of what I do with the Rockies now. In baseball, I do a chapel with the visiting team and then the Rockies and then the umpires, which is also interesting. I mean, first time I walked in the umpire room, as I was instructed to do, the chief of the staff said, "How long is this going to take?" And I said, "Well, we could be done right now if you want to be. Nice to meet you, fellas." He's like, "No, come in." So I was thinking, maybe everybody they're encountering, they're supposed to be tough guys with or something. But it's an honor to represent Jesus Christ anywhere, and I'm happy to have spent 30 years being a team chaplain and still involved in sports that way. And we have 2 children. Andy, my son, ended up taking a scholarship to CU, and he was a punter for Bill McCartney. He recruited him, but 2 years for Mac and then 3 years for Neuheisel. And he has 2 daughters, and my daughter Ashley has a son and a daughter. So it's been a blessing to have 4 grandkids. And this May 23rd, my wife and I will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary, which is the most amazing thing in my life. So all good and all good memories to see you.
That's wonderful, Bo. A rich and full, productive life. Can't ask for anything more.
Amen.
So it is my honor and privilege to toss to my dear friend Pamela Dados, who is going to give everybody some instructions on how to play the trivia game and what kind of prizes you're going to win. Pam, take it away.
Thank you, Kimberly. Hello, everyone. It is good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I see a lot of familiar faces, so I think most of you know how this trivia works. Brennan just shared a link in the chat. If you go ahead and click on it, it will take you to a new web browser called AHA Slides. I'm going to share my screen right now so you can all see what we're looking at. It'll ask you to give a username. You'll go ahead and join, and then we will get rolling. We have 5 trivia questions tonight. So if you can all go ahead and click on that link, go ahead and join. We've had some fun trivia questions the last few weeks, some fun playing. So it's a chance to win some CU branded Nike gear. So it is a fun thing to do. I'm going to give it 1 minute and see if we can get a few more people in here. Perfect. I see some names rolling in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, we just got one more person in the last second. All right, we're going to go ahead. Okay, I'll give it 1 more second. I see more people are jumping on. I don't want anyone to miss out. It has been a fun little activity for me during the week to go through and decide on the trivia questions and see what we're going to highlight. For those of you that have stuck around for all of the virtual tailgates, you might remember the first week I kind of went off script and thought I had the right answers. And some of my trivia questions were not right. So I have double checked everything this time moving forward. We're going to go ahead and start. Question 1. The Buffs last played UCLA on January 2nd. What was the final score of that game? You'll see your answer options down below. So Buffs last played UCLA January 2nd. What was the final score of that game? Okay. Time is up. Let's see here. All right, 10 correct answers. We did just barely lose last time we played them. So we are hoping that the Buffs are going to, you know what? We know the Buffs are going to pull out a win tonight. We are looking forward to it on senior night. Okay, question 2. How many national championships has CU won across all sports? So you'll notice this is not a basketball specific question. A great picture of our, I believe, Kimberly, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he has already retired. I know he had announced his retirement. Not yet?
No, this is his final season.
Okay.
In fact, this is our final competitive weekend before we go to NC2As and skiing. That's
Love it.
Rocos.
We love Coach
10
Rocco.
years of service.
He is a wonderful man. So how many national championships in total? 29. All right. Correct.
Is this our smartest audience yet, Pam?
It might be. We are getting some great winners here. All right. All of the 2021 NCAA men's tournament games will take place in what state? Obviously, if you're on this call, you are a men's basketball fan. So you know that March Madness has adapted this year, as has every other element of college athletics and professional athletics. And they will be heading to one of the below states. Look at that. Everyone got that answer in quick. Indiana, correct. I believe they will be going out there. I know talks of right from Vegas, maybe headed home in between. So it will be an exciting time. All right, 2 questions left. The Buffs have 5 conference road wins so far this season. This is the most conference road wins since what season? So we see a few options down below. Again, 5 conference road wins. Pac-12 road games are hard to come by. Get those answers in. Correct answer is the 1961-1962 season. I put in 2011-2012 just as a little zinger because that was our last team to win the conference tournament. So pretty fun years of men's basketball. All right, final question. McKinley Wright passed which forever Buff to become number 8 on the CU all-time scoring list? So who did he pass to make his way to number 8 on that all-time scoring list?
I know, Pam. I know. I can't play.
No sharing the answer, Kimberly.
Just saying, if you want to make a new friend, I know that.
Uh-oh, I think she's saying that she can share her info. All right. Final answer, Josh Scott, that is correct. For those of you that know the old Buff Club office in Gate 1, where I started my career with Mr. McMichael, we had a big mural of Josh Scott on the wall. So I looked at that mural every single day. All right, final, let's see. 2 winners, Ray and Joel, congratulations. I will reach out to both of you either this evening or tomorrow to get some more information. And we'll share those prizes. So congrats, everyone. Kimberly, I'm going to toss it back over to you.
Thank you, Pam. So just as a reminder, we mentioned that we have been hosting these events for both men's and women's basketball. Tomorrow is our final regular season event, and that is at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And Brendan or Pam, if you want to shoot the reg link into the chat, we have 2 women's Hall of Famers with us, Jamila Lang and Bridget Turner. I am so excited to talk with these women tomorrow, and we've got a special guest that I'm not even allowed to announce. So there is your tease for the day. So we have a couple of questions in the chat for Bo. So we're shifting into our Q&A portion right now. And if you have a question for Bo, please put it in the chat and I will share it with him. So Michelle Mink wants to know, Bo, what was it like playing in the old arena? And I believe you mean Balch Fieldhouse. Any interesting stories from Balch?
Balch was a raised court. So when you're on the bench, the court was like at chin level with the ball players and the fans. And when we came back from that road trip to Texas, all of a sudden Balch was packed. I think it only held maybe 5,000 people, but you couldn't see any space in there, and it was quite the place to be. I mean, I loved playing there. We would come out of our locker room was lousy upstairs. We come down through the wrestling room, up this little staircase, out on the court, and yet what made it great were all the fans just right on top of you. The court was temporary court, so you could set a basketball at mid-court, just set the ball down and stand back and watch, and it would roll off in any number of directions. So occasionally, I wasn't much of a ball handler anyway, but I didn't even have to dribble it off my foot to look crazy because it would just make funny bounces. But after my sophomore year, when we won the conference, which by the way was the last conference championship Colorado's won. I know we won the tournament. I think we're going to win more with Tad Boyle as our coach, but I like telling Chauncey Billups, he'd come to Chapel with the Nuggets, and I'd say, Chauncey, you're a much better player than I was, but you never won a championship. Anyway, after we won the championship that year, they switched the floor, did away with the temporary court and put in the tartan surface that's there now. It wasn't as much fun. It wasn't as comfortable. The fans weren't on you like they were on that temporary court, but I loved playing at Old Balch, and no regrets.
Well, thank you, Bo, for that wonderful answer. And thank you for the question. We have, you mentioned the current players, and we know that they are playing in front of cardboard cutouts instead of all of us right now. Let's be honest, none of us would be in front of a computer at 7:30 right before tip. We'd all be in the CU Event Center. Jessica has a question and would like to know, how would you feel about playing in front of cardboard cutouts?
I've heard some of the Rockies players that I know well say the biggest difference is, and I would feel this as well, just the energy that you draw from the fans. That night I talked about us winning the conference. Sorry. I'm not lost. I'm just crying a little.
That's all right. Just take a deep breath, and emotion is always good because it means it's a better story.
It was such a cool moment because Scott, can you remember Father Pat's last name? I don't remember his last name. Catholic priest who was our.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his last name, but everybody called him Father Pat. Yeah.
So we came out of the stairwell and we were lousy against Missouri the first half. And like I say, we'd already flipped a coin. We assumed we were going to Lawrence to play a tough Kansas team to see who would go on to the NC2A tournament. But when we came up the stairs, you know how they always say that winning team first. Well, we were just thinking, what is wrong with us tonight? We're so crummy against a pretty average Missouri team. But Father Pat said final score from Lawrence, Kansas, and he read Kansas University's score first, so we assumed they won. And then he read Kansas State's score, and they had beat them. And it's like the roof went off the building. And the energy we got from those fans was so amazing that we just buried Missouri in the second half and celebrated and went on to the tournament with a conference championship.
Well, that has to be special. I was there when CU football won their national championship, and I was crying so hard. It was like I won the national championship. I was so proud of our team and so moved by after the first time we had a shot at it, and then the second time we won. So I feel you. That is a wonderful, wonderful story. Thank you.
It's nothing to cry about, though. I just happen to cry at everything. So.
Sorry, I do too. I'm surprised.
Very passionate.
I'm surprised I haven't cried through these events, Pam. Thanks for keeping me in check. So, Bo, we've got one of your high school friends here on this call.
Really?
His uncle says, "Hi, Bo. Sounds like you have done well. Old high school classmate, Gretchen Z."
Well, thank you.
Gretchen.
Did we win an award together, Gretchen?
You can take yourself off mute if you'd like to.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. I think you were the one that won all the awards. I didn't win any awards. I do remember you, of course, but you went by a different name. So I guess the trivia question would be, what year did we graduate from high school?
Well, that was a great year for all of us, 67, and long time ago.
You didn't you do 3 sports, or did you just do basketball and baseball?
Actually, when I moved to Colorado, I had played enough football to know I hated it. I hated the way the helmet felt. I hated the way the pads felt. It all was restrictive to me, and I also did not like getting hit. So when I got to Denver and they told me Matt Sterling was the quarterback,
Yeah.
and then they told me they had golf in the fall, I thought, good. I don't have to play
Yeah, you
anymore.
were a golfer. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Well, I went on and I got a degree in nursing from CU, and now I have a PhD and I teach nursing, and I'm a nurse practitioner. And when COVID hit, I decided I better not be working in a hospital anymore because I'm too old. And I decided to just have been working in various residential centers. Right now I'm in Eugene, Oregon. I was so sad that I didn't get to go see the Buffs play last week. But anyway, I'm a huge Buffs fan, and it's very nice to see you. I think I've missed you at some of the reunions.
I've hit them all, so I'm about worn out on reunions, though.
Oh yeah, me too. I said the last one was the last one.
I keep asking Charlie Blackman and Trevor Story, 2 of our chapel guys with the Rockies, should I retire and go home? And they're like, why? Yeah, everybody wants to come to chapel, and it's not because of me, but I do try to make it. People seem to complicate faith issues. It's a lot simpler than some people make it, but our chapels are fun, and I love those guys. So I guess no matter how old I am, I'll keep doing it until they run me off.
That's how I feel. Like, why retire? I actually work in mental health, and all the people that retired when they were 65 are, in my office regretting ever retiring. So I'm with you. Retirement is overrated, people.
Now, some of us are looking forward to that, Gretchen, so we're going to have to cut you off with that one. So we've got a couple of other questions. I want to thank you for joining us from Oregon, Gretchen. That's pretty awesome. And sorry to see the Buffs. We're bummed we can't see the Buffs either. They're 5 minutes from me right now, but I'm not there. But we've got 2 more questions that just came in. One is, whoops, hold on.
Just going to make me cry again?
No. Well, I don't know, maybe. Sarah Sturkle would like to know, what would you say to the Buffs in your pregame locker room speech tonight?
I'd say play for each other. When you put the label teammate on your forehead, on your resume, on your jersey, you forfeit the right to take a night off in terms of loving each other, lifting each other up. And if you'll play for each other and just accept the fact that sports is as much about failing as it is about succeeding, and you have to recover quickly when you make a mistake or miss a shot, and just keep going and play together. Listen to your coach, show respect for authority. That's the same stuff I try to share when I'm asked to talk to a Rockies player about any of this. But that's probably what I'd say is just do your best and trust the results to that.
Sounds like sound advice, definitely. Michelle asked a question and she said, would you like to see CU bring baseball back?
Absolutely. I've been asked in the past when Irv Brown, my coach and friend, was still alive. He'd made some efforts, I think, to do it. But Scott, why don't you speak to that? Because I think we have to raise just tens of millions of dollars to endow both men's baseball and women's, I guess, softball to get that done. But it's something we'd all love to see, but it's pretty tough. It's a pretty tough task, isn't it, Scott?
You're right. And it's not just you, Bo, but every time I see Dave Logan or anybody else that used to play baseball, come on, McMichael, when are you going to bring back baseball? We need to get this thing going. But to your point, it's not only having to build a stadium, you have to then provide all the scholarships because the Title IX, you'd have to at least add women's softball and maybe another women's sport to be equivalent. So you're probably looking in that 25 to 30 million range just to kind of get things started. So very expensive, but I told Logan and anybody else, hey, just go beat on Mr. Mumford's door. Maybe he's got some spare change that he can throw our way to get this started. But yeah, unfortunately, it would be very expensive. But I think everybody would love to see, baseball back. But it is hard in a four-season climate. That's the other side of it. Because when I was at Kansas, they still have baseball, and you spend probably the first third of your season on the road because you're dodging snowstorms and cold weather, and so it is a challenge. And we tried to move the state back to alleviate some of that. But yeah, I agree. I love baseball. I loved it growing up, and but yeah, it would be very expensive, especially in today's climate.
Now, when you mentioned Kansas baseball, when I played at Colorado, Kansas had a basketball player who also was a pitcher named Dave Robish. And Robish was how big? 6'11"?
He was about 6'11", and yeah, about 250. Yeah.
So the pitcher's mound is 60 feet 6 inches from home plate, but when Robish would step forward and throw the ball, you were just a little bit afraid that you couldn't see it because he threw hard and he threw close to you.
Yeah, he was about halfway to home plate after that first step.
Exactly. Anyway, good question, and we wish we had baseball, but if I'm going to raise 30 million, it's probably going to be to start another church, not bring baseball back to CU.
Understand.
So Leanne shared an answer to a question that was asked. She said, Father Pat was Father A. Balfour Patterson from St. Aidan's Episcopal Church just across from campus.
Oh, wow. And a great guy with a beautiful voice. I mean, he brought the place to life.
That's fabulous. Thank you for that reminder. Appreciate you coming up with that, Leanne. Jim Carpenter has a question for you, Bo. He wants to know if you can talk a little bit more about Sox and Ellie's impact on your life.
I think I actually chose Colorado in part because this background I see in some of y'all's screens, but beautiful. And like I said, that whole class that recruited me, especially Charlie Gardner, but Bowers and all those guys. But Sox, I believe, had won Coach of the Year in the Big 8 Conference a number of years when I was making the choice. And towards the late 60s. I mean, the whole place was actually sort of blowing up. Truthfully, Boulder was very complicated in the late 60s. I think it's a history class now for the young kids, but to live through that was a little bit crazy. And I think I contributed to this. I think we all made socks a little crazy. When I finished playing basketball and went into real estate, I actually Jim told the fellow I worked for in Boulder that we should hire Ellie Walseth. I said, there's nobody around any kinder than Ellie, and she'll be good at this. And so I got closer to Sox and Ellie actually after I quit playing. I think when I played, Cliff Mealy was so great. Ron Smith, when he was there, was great. That every time I went up to shoot, Sox would scream, "Don't shoot!" So I had a little trouble with confidence along the way, but I loved coming to see you because of Sox. I love Sox and Ellie, and I'll tell you this story. I believe I told this at our reunion there, Kimberly, but I really got to see the whole picture of Sox when Ellie got sick, and Sox would just crawl. I'd come up to Boulder to see Ellie, and Sox would greet me at the door. We got to be close friends, and then he would, as I would come in and sit by her bed, he would just crawl in bed next to her, put his arm around her, and just we'd sit there for a couple hours and talk and tell stories. But the compassion and care he showed for Ellie was the real Sox. I think that's why he's so loved by everybody that played for him and for the men's team and the women's team. But he was a good X's and O's guy, and he kind of let us just run because we had some great athletes on that team, and we were successful. So good experience. I wish he'd have let me shoot a little more though.
Well, thank you for that. What a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing those memories. It's very special. I just want to thank everybody for, who's saying? Michelle. Utah up on SC 6956 with 146 left. Amen. I'll say amen to that. We have 7 minutes before our Buffs kick off. So I would just like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This is our final regular season men's basketball live event. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to be announcing our Pac-12 tournament pregame show. And have I got a lineup for you? The 2012 Pac-12 team of Nate Tomlinson, Austin Default, Carlin Brown, the MVP, Sabatino Chen, and Ben Mills are going to be our guests. So stay tuned. You'll be invited to that show. And it is going to air before the men's Pac-12 tournament. For the NC2A tournament show, we'll have an event there. And I use the word event, although Pam does correct me because I'm used to events. But we'll be sending that to you also. Tomorrow we are live here on Zoom with Hall of Famer Jamila Lang and Bridget Turner from the women's basketball team. Very special guest joining us. She won't even allow me to say who she is. But if you're interested in joining us tomorrow at 11 a.m. on Zoom, I know Pam put the link in the chat, and maybe you can just put another one there since our chat is pretty deep. But on behalf of Pam and Brennan and Scott, thank you so much, Bo. It is such a blessing to have you join us. And it's so wonderful to hear your stories. And I am going to personally call you and make sure you're attending next year's reunion because I would like to hear more of these stories. So between Scott and I, you're not done with reunions yet. But
I just wanted to tell Bo, the last time I was talking to Ted Owens, Cliff Mealy's name came up, and Ted still uses Charlie Gardner of hiding Cliff in his basement so none of the other coaches could find him. Because we know he's out there somewhere. That Gardner's got him locked up. So
Charlie and Sox did a great job.
I'll have to send Charlie another thank you note, Scott. Thanks for that reminder.
By the way, Charlie took my English teacher in high school out named Cheryl Hannon, double dated with me when he was recruiting me. And she kept saying, You better not call me Cheryl during school hours. I'm like, okay, that's pretty strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of fun things happen during college, right? I think we all have those stories, everybody on this call. So again, I'm going to toss this to close out the event with the thing we do at all of our alumni events, and that is the beloved fight song. So take it away, Pam and Brennan. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
1,